Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert Review Stuff, where it is October and in October it is tradition that we review horror movies. And speaking of tradition, completely by accident I have continued a tradition around here by reviewing a movie in the Conjuring Cinematic Universe. It's not a problem as I generally like these movies, but I would at least appreciate it if they didn't sneak up on me like this. But we'll get to that later in my review for the Curse of La Llorona. In 1673, two Mexican boys give a necklace to their mother, so she drowns them both in a river. There's no pleasing some people. 300 years later, Anna Tate Garcia is a caseworker assigned to a Hispanic family whose mom locked her two sons in a closet. Sure, it sounds bad, but it is better than drowning them both in a river, and the mom claims she did it to protect them. Well, Anna begs to differ, and takes the two boys to the police, where they are promptly killed by a ghost lady in white called La Llorona. While investigating the death of the two boys, Anna's children see the lady in white as well, so now she's their problem. Then some more stuff happens and eventually they involve Father Perez and a Lloronologist to help get rid of her. So, sticking with tradition, I suppose I would still say that I continue to enjoy the Conjuring series, but I would also say that this movie had next to no effect on that. First, because this movie was just fine. Not great, not awful, just fine. And secondly, because making it part of the Conjuring universe felt more like an afterthought. Like, if they made this exact movie, but at some point there was a Batman logo on a wall, they would try to call it part of the DCEU. I'm pretty sure the only thing that ties it in is that the father at some point says something like, I dealt with a haunted doll once. But anyway, back to your problem. And thus, it's in the Conjuring universe. But anyway, this movie's about a ghost called La Llorona. I guess she's from Mexican folklore or something. Now, I'm no expert on Mexican culture, and I'm just barely fluent in Spanish, but I believe that La Llorona translates to Our Lady of the Urine. But that barely even comes up in this movie. Huh?
The weeping woman.
So she weeps urine? That's gross. So the look of this movie was also just fine. It wasn't particularly scary and relies mostly on jump scares rather than spookiness. Some of them you can just see coming from a mile away, like the drapes scare or the mirror stuff. Little tip, if you ever get the feeling that you're in a horror movie, get really suspicious whenever there's a mirror around. But I guess the see-through umbrella thing was kind of new and fun. The urine lady herself was fairly spooky, but they probably showed her a little bit too much and too often for her to remain properly scary. I think the biggest problem I had with this movie is with La Llorona herself. I prefer it when my ghosts make a little bit more sense in their motivations. So you killed your kids in a jealous rage that probably should have been aimed at your husband, and then you immediately regretted it, or at least immediately after you killed the second one. So why are you now dedicating your afterlife to killing other kids? I thought you regretted it. Why did you decide to keep doing it after death? Just because you're good at it? Here's a thought. Maybe your whole ghost thing should be trying to kill cheating husbands in your afterlife. Also, they say in the movie when she realized what she had done, she drowned herself in the same water she drowned her kids in, but we saw that in the beginning of the movie, and that water was like ankle deep. I mean, I'm sure she could have done it if she put her mind to it, but maybe they just left that scene out of the movie because of how silly it would look. Also, when they do finally defeat her, at least as well as you can defeat any ghost in these kind of movies, they do so by stabbing her in the heart with a wooden cross. So you a vampire now too? Moving on to the living, Linda Cardellini was good. I was sad to see that things didn't work out between her and Hawkeye, but you have to move on. She got the kids and a new job and seems to be doing fine, even if that job is a little bit confusing. Like, why would you call the Child Protective Services officer to come out and look at the dead kids of her client in the middle of the night? She's not a detective and probably doesn't have much need to be subjected to that directly. And probably can't do much to protect the children anymore either. Maybe they could just inform her when she comes into the office the next day. Hey, sorry, your client's dead. Here's a fresh one off the pile. We good? Well, now you've gone and gotten her whole family haunted because they got their arms grabbed by a ghost there. I hope you're pleased with yourself. But on the other hand, her kids are so dumb that when she asks them about the mark on their wrists, they say they fell. Okay, so you both fell handprints onto your arm? And then you guys invite the expert urinologist over to your house and tell him that his methods are silly? Yes, he is rubbing eggs all over your house, but you called him. Let the man work. And finally, Velasquez's character was quite the piece of shit. She blames Cardellini for the death of her two kids, but what would any sane person have done if they found a lady locked her two kids in a closet for a couple of days? And you could have tried to handle it better yourself by trying to explain as opposed to trying to attack her with a hammer. I mean, it probably wouldn't have worked, but neither did your way. Anyway, she essentially tries to offer Cardellini's kids up to Llorona to, what, get your kids back? That's not how ghosts or death work. So that was my review of The Curse of La Llorona. It didn't make too much sense, wasn't particularly scary, and seemed completely shoehorned into the Conjuring universe, but it was fine enough, I guess. I mean, you could do worse, or you can do better by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. And if there's anything you'd like me to review, don't forget to leave it in the comments below or on my Facebook fan page. So that's all for this week. I have been Robert, and The Curse of La Llorona has just been reviewed. Last year, I reviewed Annabelle Creation, which, like today's movie, is in the CCU, or the Conjuring Cinematic Universe. I just made that up. And there's apparently another one coming out next year. And if I review that one next year, you could damn near call this a habit. Do you get it? Because I'm reviewing The Nun? Let's move on.